Hi, everyone, and welcome to this kind of reimagined version of Checked Out, the library's inaugural book podcast. It's looking a little bit different these days.
Yes, exciting.
It's especially different in our location. We are now social distance podcast recording. I guess is what you would call it, Jennifer.
We're in a nice size room. We're across from each other. We're definitely
We're
apart.
like 6.5 feet apart. We're going.
We're
above
definitely protected. We both have our mask on, and so we feel good about this arrangement.
I think
it's going to be really good.
We've commandeered a vacated office, and so this is what podcasting at the library looks like in 2020.
And we didn't kick this person out of their office.
No, he left it already. And we took it over. So. This is the new version of Checked Out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us. As always, I am Alexa. You know me from past podcasts. And with me now, my new co-host, Jennifer Murphy.
Hello. Now, you might know me from the cooking podcast that the library has, which right now is sort of in a hiatus.
As so many things.
So I took over, and I'm really excited to be part of this wonderful start of this new podcast world for me.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
So what it's going to look like from here on out, I know that Checked Out has kind of taken many forms over the years since we initially began it as part of our One Book, One Lexington program. So now Jennifer and I are just use it to chat books.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about what the library looks like now, how things are going, stuff that we have been reading and enjoying, stuff that we're looking forward to, things that are going on in just the world of books and pop culture, all that good stuff. So it's just going to be like a little chatty, fun podcast. And hopefully we can keep you company for a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think we're going to talk a lot about different genres of books, not just the things we like, which we'll talk a little bit about.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and talk about what you usually like to read?
So, of course, I love to cook, and so, of course, cookbooks are a big thing for me, and I will probably bring up a cookbook, because it's just part of my big pile of books that I take home every night, probably. But I am a mystery reader. I love mysteries. I also like quirky graphic novels. I am not a big superhero graphic novel comic book person.
You like the Lucy Knisley graphic novels.
Yes, I like something that's got some weird story and the illustrations are weird or beautiful. I like that kind of stuff. I like fiction. I am a big reader of nonfiction. I like to read true crime. And I also like to read about, I guess you would say folklore. I like fairy tales. So I like to read stuff like that. So that's kind of where I am, but doesn't mean I don't like a good, just great written fiction book. So that's me.
Yeah. So I'm kind of all over the place too. I definitely love a good graphic novel.
Oh yeah.
Love Hawkeye. I don't do much superheroes, but I do love Matt Fraction's Hawkeye.
That's a good series.
It's fun. It's a fun one. I love romance novels, which I've talked extensively about on this podcast.
I forgot about that about you.
Everyone should know that I really do. I'm going to be talking about some romance novels today. That's you worry.
That's good. You might have to educate me.
Yes. I definitely read a lot of romance novels. I love Tessa Dare. Love Sarah McLean. Have a good time with those. I love literary fiction. Love a good short story.
Short stories, yes.
Love Karen Russell. I love Kevin Wilson. Any sort of like contemporary magic realism, Southern Gothic type stuff.
Kelly Link. Have you ever read in Kelly Link?
Love Kelly Link, yes.
She's probably one of my favorites.
Magic for Beginners is excellent.
Oh my gosh, that's a great book.
Yeah, Kelly Link is wonderful. So that kind of stuff. Definitely read some nonfiction here or there. I love a good sad memoir. I've talked extensively about my love of the sad memoir on this podcast in the past as well.
That's really funny.
Set me up with a good sad. Love The Bright Hour. I love When Breath Becomes Air. If it's going to make me cry, like, yes. Oh, love it. So good.
I'm glad that you're reading that, not me.
I'm happy to let you live vicariously through
I can just chop onions and cry.
I'll read it, so
that's
you
what
don't have to. You're welcome. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my reading. I don't have time for much reading. I have a very small person who lives in my house who requires a lot of attention. So I read when I can. I just recently finished a romance novel, a novella, and some graphic novels. So I'm kind of all over the place right now with my reading. Read what I can.
Yeah. No, I think I will say this, and I was thinking about it before when we first started talking about doing the podcast. One of the things I noticed, and after just talking with people just during COVID, texting people and just keeping up with people, I heard a lot of people tell me, I just can't get into reading right now. And I think it was just everyone was so overwhelmed with so many things. And I thought, wow, that's not going to happen to me. But then it did. Yeah. It did. It happened to me. Here I am off from work and I basically can't concentrate enough to read.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to get myself back into reading. And I have to thank the library to get my reading back was because I got asked to start doing programming again for the library. And I have a mystery book club, which is also in hiatus called Whodunit, which I miss terribly. But I brought that back and I read some Agatha Christie. And she's like my spirit animal, obviously, because I was able to start reading again after reading a couple Agatha Christie novels. So thank you, Agatha Christie. So she brought me back.
Yeah.
And so now I try to read a little bit more. It's really tough, though.
It is.
We are very busy at the library.
The library is busy right now. And I think that escapist reading is really where it's at the moment.
It's really important, I think.
All of the stuff that I have been reading recently is very far from reality. So, which I think is necessary. I'm definitely not reading much nonfiction right now because I feel like I just don't want it.
No, I feel exactly the same way. I think right now the things I've been concentrating on have been fun. Or if I'm going to listen to something sad or weird or whatever, I'm just going to listen to a podcast.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, we should talk about some podcasts too. I feel like
yes, we definitely will be talking about that. We're both podcast people.
Podcasts lately, yeah. So yeah, like we said, this is going to be a little bit all over the place. We're going to cover a lot of topics, and it's hopefully just going to be like a fun little hanging out spot for people to put it on and listen to.
So we hope you enjoy it.
Yes. So why don't we kick it off? We're going to start by just talking a little bit about what the library looks like right now.
Yes.
Because it's different and it's constantly changing. And so if you haven't been to visit us recently, it probably looks a little bit different than how you remember it.
Yes, definitely. So right now, North Side was the first location to open. The arrangement of the libraries that are actually open are that your time is limited to an hour. We can only allow 20 people in the building at one time.
And that's really the thought process behind limiting the time to an hour is to really allow as many people to come in and use the library as possible.
Exactly. We don't want to be like, oh, you can't come in. But we have to limit the amount of people who come in the library and the amount of time. Yeah. And we do that for our safety and for yours. And so we do hope you understand that. Basically, that hour time limit is for you to browse if you need to use a computer, if you need to fax something. And that's basically very limited services that we do. But we also, if you look at our website, you can do bag of books and you can do questions to the librarian questions and that type of thing. So there is ways to get help, but just be well aware that it's sort of limited in scope.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you can always put stuff on hold. We are still doing curbside services at all locations. So if you're not comfortable coming into the library, you definitely don't have to do that. And you can still get your materials. You can still get stuff from us. We are now currently circulating laptops as well.
That's true.
So if you aren't comfortable coming in and using a public computer, or you know that you're going to need a computer for longer than an hour at a time, check out a laptop from us. You can put them on hold. We will bring it right out to your car, curbside, and you can leave with the laptop that circulates, just like any other material that we circulate.
Yeah, so. 14 days. As of right now, I know that there's, one laptop left at Northside.
We've got a decent amount, I think.
So if you not want to go to Eastside.
I mean, and you can put them on hold. If your location doesn't have a laptop, we will send it to the location that you want to pick it up at. It's just like any other material. So we will get you a laptop.
Keep that in mind. Yes. If you need a laptop.
And we also do not have seating inside of the buildings right now, aside from at the public computer lab, but we do have outdoor seating at locations. So if you are looking for somewhere to come and sit and study and use some Wi-Fi, you can still do that at the library. It will just look a little bit different.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you won't be in the building. Yes. You'll be outside.
But you can still access the Wi-Fi. And you can check out a laptop to do it now.
Yeah, that's true. Which I think really has been a great service.
Yeah.
So I hope people take advantage.
I do too. Yes, absolutely. We don't want the laptops to just sit on our shelf. We want you to come and get them.
No, please take them.
I want to talk about books.
Yeah, let's do it. Woo, books. Yay. Okay, I'm going to let you start.
Okay, so the 3 things that I have read recently and really enjoyed, and that I would love for other people to check them out because they were delightful. First is a bit of an older book. It's called Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Morata. She's a Japanese author. This came out a few years ago, and I picked it up because she has a new book that just released called Earthlings, which I'm very interested in reading after finishing Convenience Store Woman because it was delightful.
Oh, I think I picked that book up and never got a chance to read it, but it sounded really fascinating.
It is very short. I would call it a novella. It's like 150 pages-ish.
Which is good when you have some small person at home.
I've been going for short stuff lately.
Yes.
It's about a woman in Japan, and she has always worked at a convenience store. That's just what she does. And there's really a lot about Japanese like culture and ideals and like what is expected of you in that country. And so
and her being female, right?
That's a little bit of it, but more it's just that you're not expected to work in a convenience store forever.
Oh, like, she's been there forever.
She's worked there since she's worked there for 13 years. And so she's into like her 30s now. And everyone's like, well, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have a kid? Like, when are you going to get a real job? This isn't a real job. But she just wants to work in a convenience store.
She's like, but I love this job.
And it's such a cute little weird book.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm going to read it now.
I really, really enjoyed it. It was wonderful. And so, her new book that just came out is called Earthlings. I know nothing about it beyond the fact that there's a little girl and a hedgehog. Like, I skimmed the description and I was like, sold. Yes, I'll also read that. You got me, Sayaka Morata. I'm in.
You were so by the cover.
I was like, yes, absolutely. I will read that. Because
sometimes that does work.
Woman was just wonderful. It was such a good book. The book, I just finished this book last night, and it's also kind of older, but it was just re-released in a new format. It used to be an ebook. It's Sleep Donation by Karen Russell.
I really love her.
One of my absolute favorite authors of all time. She's delightful. She writes the weirdest, most high concept literary stories, mostly short stories, but she does have this in Swamplandia as her other novel.
My goodness, yes.
It's wonderful.
She is really talented.
She's a literal genius. She won a MacArthur Genius Grant, so
I did not know that.
I'm totally merited in saying that. She is an actual literal genius. Sleep Donation is a novella by her, and it's illustrated, and the illustrations in it are beautiful too. But it is set in a not so distant future where insomnia has infected many people in the population, and the protagonist of the story had a sister who actually passed away from insomnia. And she now spends her time, she works for a corporation called the Sleep Corps, and she goes around and gets people to donate their good sleep to these insomniacs who are suffering from lack of sleep.
Oh my gosh. Wow, this sounds crazy good.
It's really, really good. Like I said, I read it all in one day. I could not put it down. It was phenomenal. It's also very short. It's like 160 pages. It's a novella. But it's wonderful. Like really good. Everything that Karen Russell writes, just the way that she uses language, I think is so...
It really is.
...enjoyable to read. It's just an experience when you read a Karen Russell story.
Yeah, I think it takes you someplace.
It does.
Like, she's really good at doing that.
She's amazing at world building. I mean, she has short stories where it's like a little boy and his father who is a minotaur, and you're just like, yes, I believe this.
Like, I believe this is really happening.
I will go wherever you want to take me.
Please take me there. Please take me there.
She's amazing. So Sleep Donation by Karen Russell, phenomenal, really, really good. And then the third thing that I have read recently that I enjoyed was The Highwayman, which is the first book in the Victorian Rebel series by Kerrigan Byrne. This is like classic bodice ripper, like romance novel. Real good. It's dark though. So I feel like that's kind of the twist on like the typical romance novel. Like
where does it take place?
Well, it's set in the usual like London in the 1800s. Like they go to Scotland for a little bit too. Which I was
gonna say, is there Scottish men?
It's also pretty typical. Yes, the Highwayman technically is Scottish. All your typical stuff, but it is dark. There's like murder. There's intrigue. He's a robber. Like there's a lot of like darkness in it that you don't typically find in your traditional, just fun, Victorian romance novels.
Did it make you like want to sing Adamant, like Stand and Deliver, like from that video?
Yes.
Yes, it did. That's all I think of when I think of that. I always think of that song.
It was really good. I have the second one checked out. Now I'm sold. Yes, absolutely. Take me along for this ride, Kerrigan Byrne.
You're like, please, I love it.
Well, Tessa Dare's newest book got pushed back, so I'm just like desperate for a good romance novel series to read because I've already finished the other one that I had going, which was Sarah MacLean's newest series, which was delightful. Everyone should go and read it. It was really good. Yeah, anything by Sarah MacLean and Tessa Dare, 10 out of 10, would recommend. But Kerrigan Byrne's great. This is the first book I read by her, but I really liked it.
One of the things I thought about, and when I was doing some thinking about the podcast, and like we were talking about a pop cultural sort of element to our podcast, one of the things, and maybe this is probably like a whole separate podcast sort of discussion, so I'm just going to briefly mention it, and you can explain, you can tell me more about it, because I'm sure you know, is the scandal within the romance community about the racism and different things that happened within this. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So we could like delve a little bit into it. It's been a while since
this happened last year.
Yeah,
I think
it was in 2019. I'm gonna pull it up really quick. So so basically the Rita Awards were canceled, and basically the Romance Writers of America, which is the kind of like the guild that everyone is like a member of,
right,
ended up apologizing because they did not include members of color and LGBTQ plus members as finalists for their 2019 Rita Awards. Basically, it was like this whole big thing that had been kind of percolating for a really long time, and then it ended up boiling over.
I see.
Because Courtney Milan, who is a very famous romance novelist, she is Chinese American. It's really hard to summarize.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
But when you were fine. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But when you were talking about romance, and then I was thinking about pop culture, I couldn't remember exactly if you were someone who read a lot of romance, and then you're sitting there saying, like across from me saying, and I'm a big romance reader, and I'm thinking, I wonder what she thinks about that controversy. I do think like I said, this is something that you could delve into as a separate podcast, and I'm sure a lot of other book-related podcasts have talked about it.
If you Google just like Rita Awards controversy,
and if you're interested,
many good write-ups on it.
Yeah, and so if you're listening to us and you're like, "What is that about?" And then you might find yourself in a rabbit hole. I don't know.
Yes, it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole. Like I said, it's been a long time coming, and whenever it happened, Courtney Milan kind of like set it off with some tweets, and then a lot of other authors came in and agreed with Courtney. Nora Roberts wrote a blog post about it, really. Like it wasn't a little thing, like really big names in romance novels came out.
I think that's what made me think of it, was because huge names of authors, like big people, really coming down and discussing it pretty thoroughly about what they felt, and it
basically did boil down to the people of color and members of the LGBTQ plus community were being marginalized, were being ignored.
Definitely.
And it did end up with members of the board stepping down.
Yeah, which I think was, some fresh eyes people.
Yeah, exactly. And before we move on from this, I just want to read this quote from Nora Roberts that I just found because I think it's amazing. It says, "I would not be a part of this kind of discrimination against the LGBTQ community," Roberts wrote. "Jesus, it's fine to have a character fall in love with a freaking vampire, but not someone of the same sex."
Oh my God.
That's a really good quote from Nora Roberts.
Yay, Nora Roberts.
Yeah.
Good quote.
That's great.
Love it.
Yeah,
so I'm glad we talked about that. Like I said, sometimes something will just pop in my head and I'll think, gosh, what do you think about that?
I mean, look, if you want to get more into this, I'm happy to like re-familiarize myself. We can do a deep dive next time.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. People might say, let's move on. So we'll see.
Yeah, what have you read?
Let's see. I've read so many things, but I'm going to concentrate on something I just started reading because I think people will love it. And I don't want to say too much, got too far into it because I just started it. But I think it's going to be something that people will absolutely love. And it is by Richard Osman. And it's called The Thursday Murder Club. And it's about some older people who live in assisted living who basically go to the puzzle closet. It's a place that like nobody wants to go there because I think the people who run the place basically has some kind of Japanese language class they say that's there. And so no one signs up for it. And this is just a ruse for them to have a space where no one will interrupt them. And they basically look at cold case files, and they actually have files because we find out some things about some of these old people. And they're trying to basically solve crimes that they felt like weren't solved properly.
Okay.
And then they stumble upon a real crime, like a crime that happens at their place. And they're going to solve it.
Okay.
And it is fantastic. And the characters, I'm loving it. They're totally wonderful.
Okay.
So if you're a fan of just a really well-written mystery, this is a British mystery.
I was going to say, this has like a classic like Murder, She Wrote, like cute little old person, like
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Murder, She Wrote is real important to me. I love that series. This is like a more high-end version of Murder, She Wrote. But it has this wonderful feel. You really get to know the characters. They're really well fleshed out. It's just a really fun read.
Okay.
And you really, really should check it out. I guess you really don't need to be a mystery fan to like it. I think if you just really want to see some really interesting characters, there you go. It's just a fun read. Everyone should like it. So it's fun. I was thinking back, I get really excited about when authors have some book that comes out and I'll think, oh my gosh, I'm waiting. And then I go to read the book and I feel bad because I want it to be like the other book that they wrote that I really liked, kind of thing.
Yeah, I totally know.
And then you're like, oh man, I'm so disappointed. But anyway, we'll talk about that too. I'm just going to chime in on that. Because I tried to read, and I thought of you, and I don't know if you read it. Did you read The Glass Hotel?
So, yeah, you mentioned this. I have not read that yet. It has been on my to-read list for a long time.
Yeah, it was on mine.
And it's specifically because I loved Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel so much.
Yes.
I loved that book.
Yes. And so I was just going to say, like, sometimes when you start reading something and you don't... I'm definitely going to go back and try to read this book. I kind of had to set it aside, and I just could not get into it. I don't know what it was. And sometimes I think it's just yourself. Whatever day you started to read it.
Sometimes it can be the wrong moment for you to start a book.
Yeah, and I think I was, it's like you're in a weird mood, and you're like, no, I just can't read this. I just can't. But anyway, so this was one of my books that I tried to read. I couldn't get into. But I would suggest reading Station 11 by her because, oh my gosh.
It's delightful.
That book is, I still think about it.
Yeah.
Like, when it's over, I'm just like, I still to this day think about that book. And I think, I can't say that about a whole lot of books. I mean.
If you've ever wanted to read a book about a traveling Shakespearean actor group that tours during the apocalypse, then would highly recommend Station 11.
I know, and you think, who is that?
Yeah, it's
me
so
and you. I don't know, but no, really,
yeah,
it's so much more than that. But anyway, I don't know. I think if you like shows that kind of have that, there was a series called The Last Ship. I don't know if anybody knows that. I think it came on it's not on anymore, but that book reminded me of something. A TV show that was like that at the time that I was reading that. I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this show.
Can you tell me a little bit about The Glass Hotel? What was the premise of it? I know nothing about it.
You know what? I read like the first 5 pages and I couldn't get into it.
Okay.
So I really can't tell you too much about it.
Okay.
It basically, I really couldn't tell you. And that maybe that's my problem.
You just didn't make it far enough.
5 pages, I couldn't tell you anything about it. I literally read the 5 pages. I have very good reader's comprehension. Yeah. I literally could not answer a pop quiz about it.
All right, well.
And I'm sorry, Emily St. Mandel. I don't know what happened.
We really love Station 11. I haven't tried The Glass Hotel, so.
Yes. So, maybe we'll talk about it later. Maybe it's going to be, something that'll be, don't discount it because what I said.
It's true.
I just literally couldn't get into it. What else have you been reading?
So those are my main things that I have read most recently that I really
Have you read something like me where you really wanted to get into it and you could not?
So I hesitate to even say this because this author is literally one of my all-time favorite people on the planet. And I think that it's like you said, it was the wrong time and I just wasn't in the right place to read it. And I think that I just struggle really to get through anything heavier these days. Like I really need something like light, very far removed from reality, very short, because that is just truly all I can really deal with right now. I started The Dutch House by Anne Patchett.
Oh, I wanted to read that.
And I'm sure that it is delightful. And I think maybe I just need to get it on audiobook and let Tom Hanks read it to me in the car because Tom Hanks does the audiobook.
Oh, wow.
And I think that perhaps that is my problem. It's just like I don't have the mental capacity right now to get through a more lengthy book that has some heavier subject matter in it.
Yeah, that book is on my list of books that I want to read.
And Patchett has truly never written a bad book.
Yeah, she is a fantastic writer.
It's not that I'm saying it's a bad book. It's that I'm saying that it's the problem with my brain.
And that's me, and that could be my problem with the glass. I want to say the glass elevator, like Morata.
I keep thinking The Glass Castle. Which is also a different book.
We could go on for
a lot of glass books.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's The Dutch House. I loved what I read of it. And it was just like, the due date came and I was just like, I didn't finish it. I only read like a few chapters and then I just moved on to a romance novel because that's what my brain wants right now.
Right.
I don't have time for highbrow literary content.
You're like, I'm sorry. I'm just, I can't right now.
I just need something short and weird. That's where I'm at right now.
Yes, I totally understand that.
Yeah, but everyone should read The Dutch House because Anne Patchett is also a genius. And
she's fantastic.
Truth and Beauty by Anne Patchett is truly one of the greatest books ever written. It's phenomenal. Commonwealth is wonderful.
I never read that.
Bel Canto, phenomenal. So good. The Patron Saint of Liars, everything by Anne Patchett is good.
You're like, if you need something to read, just pick one of her books.
Yeah, literally just roll the dice and pick an Anne Patchett book, and it will be good. I guarantee it.
Yes.
And also, you give the audiobook a try because Tom Hanks narrates it, which I just found out the other day.
Which I think is interesting. Like, I don't know why I think that's odd.
I don't know. She has, from what I gathered, I don't know if she does switch perspectives, but the protagonist in the bits that I read was a young boy, so I feel like Tom Hanks is like the eternal young boy because he was in Big, so
that's true.
Maybe that's why they chose Tom
Hanks. I could see his voice being able to like pull that off, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's Tom Hanks. He can do anything, right?
Yeah, he beat COVID too.
He did.
Yeah, I just don't like. Yeah, I know. I just keep thinking about that. It's like the first big celebrity that had COVID.
Yeah, that feels like 10 years ago.
I know. I don't even know why. Like that just popped in my head.
Yeah, it feels like a really long time ago that Tom Hanks had that. Anyway.
Yeah, as we delve into
we digress.
Maybe we have COVID brain.
Yeah, things that I'm looking forward to reading besides Earthlings by Sayaka Morata, which I already mentioned. Again, I have no idea what it's about. I just know that I loved Convenience Store Woman, and so I would like to read everything that this woman writes because she's great. I'm currently on the hold list for A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Mm-hmm. I am absolutely pumped for that book. Can't wait until I get it. It is Naomi Novik wrote Uprooted, which was probably one of my all-time favorite books. It's wonderful. Really wonderful.
Wow. Okay.
It is
I don't think I've read anything more.
Have you not? Uprooted is so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, Uprooted, it is like it's like grown-up Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's very based in like Russian and Polish folklore. It is about a young girl who lives in this town, and once every 10 or 12 years, I don't remember how long it is. It's a good deal of time. But once every 10 or 12 years, whatever the gap is, the dragon, who is this wizard that lives in a tower at the edge of their village and protects them from the woods, he comes down and he selects one of the girls from the village to be his apprentice.
Oh, wow. That sounds great.
Yes. It's really, really good. It's very steeped in like folklore, like I said. It's very magic. It's just this grumpy wizard with this girl who lives with him and he's mad about it.
Right.
Like I said, very Howl's Moving Castle. If you've seen that movie or read the book, it's like a grown-up version of that. Oh. Really, really wonderful.
And I love folklore.
Everyone should read Uprooted. It's so good.
I don't know how I don't.
I don't know how you missed that one because it won a lot of awards too. And then she wrote Spinning Silver, which is a take on the Rumpelstiltskin fairy tale.
Okay.
So that came out 2 years ago, last year. It came out like right after I had my kids, so somewhere around there, 2 years ago. And then this newest book by her, A Deadly Education, it is the first in a series that she's going to be writing, and it's basically like dark female-centered Harry Potter. Is how I have seen it be sold. It's this young girl who goes to this magic school, but it's supposed to be very, very dark and it's not for kids. It's an adult book. So cannot wait.
Okay, I'm completely sold.
Hop on that Naomi Novik train. It's very exciting.
I sounds right up my alley. Sometimes there's just so much out there.
There's a lot of books out there.
It's like when people talk to you about, do you watch that series? And you're like, no, I don't have time.
There's so much else.
There's like 1,000 million shows on. I know. Keep up with every show.
I know.
Anyway,
but yeah, no, that is the thing that I'm most looking forward to. I cannot wait until that hold comes in for me. Cannot wait.
You're gonna be like, I got it. Oh, I got the golden ticket.
I should just buy it, but
yeah,
I probably will after I read it. That's what I did with Uprooted. I read Uprooted and I was like, I have to buy it so that I could read it whenever I want.
You're like, I have it for myself.
I need to give Naomi Novik my money because she deserves it. That's how I felt after I read that book.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's true.
So I have 2 books that I'm really looking forward to, and one is titled Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz. This is going to be the second part of the Magpie Murders. If you read that,
I know all of these words, and I've never read any Anthony Horowitz, but I know that people love that series. I know that it's super popular.
I have been waiting for him to write another part of this story because when I first read Magpie Murders, I just put the book down and said, oh my gosh, this is the best mystery book I have read in forever. I literally said that out loud. It is just a phenomenal story, and I just love it. And so I'm super, super, super excited about this other book coming out. Also, I've read several books by Ruth Ware. I think Ruth Ware is pretty popular.
I read it in a dark, dark wood.
I read that
many years ago.
I read it and I really liked it.
That's a good one, yeah. I think it's her first novel, right?
It is her first novel.
Yeah, it's really good.
She has a new book coming out, I believe in November. I am not 100% sure if it's in our catalog yet, but it's called One by One. And it's coming out in November. So I'm hoping that we have it in our catalog. I don't know. We'll have to check on that. But
keep searching for it if you're interested.
But
it
yeah,
will be there eventually.
Yes, because Ruth Ware gets a lot of checkouts now.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see that she's got a new book coming out. I kind of discovered this book, and I just called Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. And I don't want to say too much about it because I'm kind of just like literally read just a few pages of it, but it sounded so much like Alexa book.
I love that you thought that.
I literally was like, Alexa will love this book.
I would take that as the highest compliment.
But you said that you had read her first book,
yes,
or this other book, and so I thought maybe, people might be interested in it. But it sounds 2 stories in one kind of thing. It's about a boarding school. It starts off in 1902, and then it goes into a modern world. I don't know. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
But it's a big book though.
It's big. I flipped through it and it's like 600 pages.
Yeah.
That's not a short book.
No. So I don't know if you'll have time to read it or not.
Look, I'll persevere and I'll get through it. Yeah. But her first book is called The Miseducation of Cameron Post. If anyone is familiar with that book, it was super popular at the time. I remember I was assigned to read it in grad school whenever I was going through library school. It's really good. It definitely seems to not be as dark as this book. Like, if you could see the cover that I'm looking at right now, it's very foreboding. It has very like fancy script on the front, and it's black with all of these little red bugs drawn all over it.
And so these are bees. Like, I believe they're yellow jackets.
Okay,
and they play a big part of our story.
Okay,
so yeah,
it looks like the polar opposite of the Miseducation of Cameron Post cover. That cover is like a beautiful blue sky with a girl sitting on a hay bale, and the letters are in rainbows. It's like literally the exact opposite.
This does not.
Yeah, whenever I opened it and I saw what her first book was, I was like, wait, what?
A bit
of a departure, but yeah, it sounds like the content, the themes might be a little bit similar.
Yeah,
is what I
but
gathered.
Like, it says the favorite meets the haunting of Hill House. If you're interested in any of those things, those stories, this might be the book for you.
Yeah.
So, because I love the haunting of Hill House.
Yeah. Have you watched Bly Manor yet?
I have not. Okay. I'm excited about it though.
I've heard that it's better than the first series. I haven't watched either, so don't quote me on that. But
I have heard that as well.
Yeah.
So I think we wanted to talk a little bit about pop culture and kind of what's happening.
Now is the portion of the podcast where Jennifer and I will freak out over Allie Brosh's return.
Yes. we are really, really, really excited about her. She's back. We're so excited. It's been 9 years?
At least. So for those of you out of the loop, Allie Brosh is a very famous web comic artist.
Yes.
She had a blog way back in the day where she drew comics about her life, about her dogs, about her as a child, very like sketchily in Microsoft Paint. I'm sure that my guess is probably if you've ever seen a meme of her comics, you're familiar with Allie Brosh. I remember her Clean All the Things.
Yes.
With, like herself holding up a broom. That became a meme for a while.
Yes.
These are really old memes because, like I said, it's a very old webcomic. But you've probably seen an Allie Brosh comic, even if you don't know who Allie Brosh is. Her first book of comics is called Hyperbole and a Half, which is also the name of her blog.
Yes.
And she is back. She, for the longest time, was promising a second book, and then she just disappeared. She disappeared off of the internet. She didn't post anything for years. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, she's back and here's her second book.
Yeah.
And it's here.
I know that, how you can be friends with people on Facebook, but I've connected to her group that's on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. She's been posting updates there.
Yeah, she's been posting updates there. And she's also been posting like, okay, this is what happened to me, but only in photographs.
Yes. And she's been like doing very short captions for each of
them.
Just
little things. Mm-hmm. And they're just like a town, a road, like some snow.
I've been looking at those too.
Yeah. You're like, okay.
She's great. I love that she has like cultivated just this air of mist. And it seems like she basically just didn't do she just decided to go off the internet. Like there's no big secret behind it.
No, I think she just was like, I'm tired.
She's just over it. Yeah.
Like,
which I respect.
I do respect that.
That's impressive that you could just be as internet famous as Allie Brosh and just say,
yeah,
I'm done. I'm done for right now.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, her newest book is called Solutions and Other Problems. We do have a listing for it in our catalog. It is not here yet, but I do believe it has been released because Jennifer owns a copy.
Yes. As soon as I saw she had it, I was like, ba-ching, it's mine. She is one of the funniest people, I swear.
She's really, really wonderful.
And it's kind of, she's an odd person. Mm-hmm. She tells these really odd stories about her childhood, but like Alexa and I were talking before we recorded, I believe if everyone was a child once, and I believe that sometimes you'll think back about what you think happened or what kind of kid you were, and you realize, oh, I was weird too.
It's truly like the weirdest, most specific stuff, but you read them and you so identify with her.
Yes, you cannot help it.
It is amazing.
I don't want to say too much, but she has this one story about being like obsessed with her neighbor in the new book, and I'm literally watching it thinking, this is just what a 3-year-old would, okay, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. They just think, they don't understand that, like, the people really live next door and that, like, when you get in your car, that they actually have a home because you're a kid, you have no concept of time and space, or you should just check it.
If you haven't read any Allie Brosh, you should.
Read the first book.
Read the first book. We have it in the system. You can also just go online and search for Hyperbole and a Half. Her blog is still there.
Yep, it's still there.
It's glorious. It's just
so funny. At least as of the last time I looked, she has 2 news stories on there from the book. Mm-hmm. And so you can actually get a sort of a preview of what the book is like.
Go back and read the story about her wanting to run around in the park after she goes to the dentist as a child. It's my favorite one. And I talk about it. I was telling Jen before this, I frequently will say, I can do it. I can run in the pork, because that's a line from that comic. And it is just like been stuck in my brain for the last 15 years. After the first time I read that comic. It's so funny.
Yeah, it really is.
Her little MS Paint drawings are just absolutely perfect. They're delightful.
If you didn't know, you would think, this is the worst drawing I've ever seen of a dog in my life.
But she has to just put so much work into it to make it look so good and so bad at the same time.
I've never seen anybody be able to illustrate anxiety as good as, or a nervous, weirdness that you kind of get when you're nervous, or if you have a dog that's neurotic.
Yes.
You should.
Her dog comic's really funny. The one where she gives her dogs the dog IQ test. Oh my gosh, that one's so good.
Oh my gosh, we could go on and on and on.
I could talk about Allie. We could just make an Allie Brosh podcast, and we love her. Deep dive into each and every one of her comics, because honestly, they're phenomenal, and everyone should read Allie Brosh.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
She's the best.
Super, super fun. But on another note, I also wanted to mention, just real briefly, that Louise Gluck, I don't know if I'm saying her last name wrong.
I believe that's correct. I, an expert on name pronunciation, I think you're right.
She's a poet, and she won the Nobel Prize in Literature for 2020. And she won, I'm going to quote them, for her unmistakable poetic voice that with austere beauty makes individual existence universal.
Oh, what a nice thing to say about somebody.
And so we do have several books of her poetry in the library. Just look her up, and Gluck, Louise. And so I just thought that was interesting that it was a female that actually won. It's also nice to see that. So
I think it's cool to read award winners. I think that whenever somebody wins the Nobel Prize, whenever somebody wins the Booker Award, I feel like anytime I see somebody has won an award like that, I'm just I need to check them out.
Yes.
That's an important person.
Well, I like to read. I used to be a children's librarian, so I tend to find myself in the children's world.
Where are the Caldecotts?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you, as soon as one comes out, I always have to read it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really great. Or sometimes I'm like, why didn't they pick this one? You always go back and forth.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm sure if you interview any children's librarian, they'll say, I don't know why that one book won.
Yes, everyone always has opinions.
They always have an opinion.
Yeah.
Of course, that which is good. That's fine.
Usually I have found, even if I feel I'm just I have no interest in that. If it won an award, it has to have won for a reason.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking for something to read, mm-hmm. or maybe you're trying to get out of the realm of maybe what you read all the time and you want to expand, that's a good way to go.
It is. It's a really good way to find something in a genre that you don't typically read. I know we talked a little bit about the Rita Awards earlier, but I mean, truly, the Rita Awards for romance. You can read Nebulas and Hugos for sci-fi and fantasy. Like there is an award category for every single genre of book.
And
it's a really good way to find what is deemed the best.
Yeah, and I think that's great. You're like, oh wow, okay. Or sometimes you'll find that they'll have the finalist or like the and sometimes you'll find like your favorite book in that like few books that were like nominated as being they'll think, oh.
That is what originally I was just like, oh, Uprooted won the Hugo. I should check out Uprooted. And it's truly one of the greatest books that I've ever read.
Look what happened.
Guys, you should read Uprooted by Naomi Novik. It's really good. And when I say guys, I mean you, Jennifer. I was
going to say, I'm going to give you, she's pointing at me. So her finger was pointing at me.
Read Uprooted. I can't believe you haven't read it. It's so good.
I don't know how. I'm sorry. You're going to take my folklore card away. Which is not good.
All right.
Yes. So we hope you really have enjoyed listening to us chat about books. We're hoping to do this pretty frequently.
Yes, we're going to try and get on a schedule. As we talked about earlier, libraries look a little different right now. So we're going to do our best to make this a regular thing.
Yes.
I don't want to throw out any dates or times or numbers because I don't want to hit a bit, fail immediately.
Yeah, we're like, and we're going to have this many podcasts. And, and there was only one.
We're going to do our best to cultivate a nice little cozy spot in the podcast world where you can just come and hopefully get some ideas, learn something new, find something new to read.
Yeah, that's our goal.
That's really our end goal here.
And I guess if you have questions for us,
we do have on our website where you can find the Checked Out podcast. It's just lexpublib.org/podcasts is how you find the page with all of our podcasts on it. And you can click on Checked Out. There should be a Checked Out questions and comments form.
Okay.
So if you have any questions for us, if you just want to chat, you can always fill that out and we will email you right back. As we said at the beginning, Jennifer is an adult services librarian here at Northside. I am an adult services librarian over at Eastside. So you can also just come to the buildings and we will probably be around.
You'll probably hear our voices and be like, oh, there's those girls from the podcast.
Those are the podcast people I listen to. Yeah, because we're pretty much always there. Oh, and something that we didn't cover at the beginning when we were talking about the new library world that we are all inhabiting is that our hours look a little bit different.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So the libraries that are currently open are open from Monday through Saturday, 11 to 6.
Yeah, no Sunday hours
anymore. We're not open until 9 anymore. So it looks a little bit different.
Yes.
But we are open during that time.
So we hope you come and visit.
Yes.
Please come to the library. Please use us. You know, I mean, we're here.
We know a lot about books and computers. So we would love to help you if you have questions about either of those things.
Yes. So thank you again for joining in, and we hope that you come back and listen to us next time.
Yeah, we'll see you guys the next time.
Bye.
Bye.